wheels guiding his direction, but because of the way people looked at him. Some looked with pity, others with discomfort, and some, like the group of teenagers who followed him out of Ridgewood Middle School that cold November afternoon, looked with the kind of cruel curiosity that made his skin crawl. As he rolled down the nearly empty sidewalk with his service dog, Honey, trotting happily at his side, Ethan felt a strange heaviness in the air. He wasn't wrong. Trouble was coming. Honey, a golden retriever with soft ears and eyes that sparkled with loyalty, nudged Ethan every few seconds, sensing his unease. She was trained to recognize early signs of Ethan's anxiety. His disorder often made his muscles tense and his breathing shorten, and she was the anchor that kept him steady. But even her warmth could not block out the laughter that grew louder behind him. "Hey, Wheels," one of the rich boys shouted. His name was Chase Morgan, son of the wealthiest real estate developer in Ridgewood, known for arriving at school in a shiny black SUV with tinted windows and 2 assistants carrying his backpack. "Where you going? Trying to roll away from us?" Ethan tightened his grip on his wheels, trying to focus on the rhythm Honey had taught him. Breathe in, breathe out, stay steady, keep moving. He didn't have the strength to fight them or the speed to escape. They were 3, tall and athletic, and they blocked his path easily. The first shove was verbal. The second was physical. Chase stepped forward, kicking the front wheel of Ethan's chair. It jolted violently, and Ethan gasped as he struggled to regain balance. Honey instantly barked and tried to step between them, her body stiff with protective instinct. But Chase only laughed. "What's this? Your little mutt gonna save you?" he taunted. Before Ethan could breathe out a word, another boy swung his foot and kicked Honey in the ribs. The sound that left her throat, a whimpering cry of pain, cut through Ethan's heart more sharply than anything they had ever said to him. Honey stumbled backward, curling slightly as she tried to protect herself. "Stop," Ethan shouted, his voice cracking. "Please, she didn't do anything. Leave her alone." "Oh, we're just having fun," Chase mocked. "Besides, you can't even stand. What are you gonna do about it?" The other boys snickered, circling like hyenas. One reached for Honey again, but before his foot connected, a voice, calm, deep, and commanding, cut through the air like a blade. "That's enough." Everyone froze. At the end of the sidewalk stood a man with broad shoulders, sun-worn skin, and the unmistakable posture of someone trained to face danger without flinching. He wore simple clothes, dark jeans, a gray t-shirt, and a baseball cap pulled low, but his presence radiated authority. A grocery bag hung from one hand, but even that seemed secondary to the sheer force of his gaze. The boys laughed nervously. "And who are you supposed to be?" Chase scoffed, folding his arms. The man stepped closer, the sunlight catching the dog tag around his neck. "Lieutenant Commander Jack Reynolds," he said calmly. "United States Navy SEAL, retired." The change was instant. Something about the name, the tone, the unmoving stare, it shattered the boy's confidence. Jack set the grocery bag down gently on the pavement and knelt beside Honey, checking her ribs with practiced precision. "She's hurt," he murmured softly. Honey pressed her head against his hand, trembling. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, not from pain but from helplessness. Jack rose to his full height, and when he looked at the boys again, every trace of softness vanished. "You 3 think you're strong?" he asked. "Ganging up on a kid in a wheelchair and kicking a defenseless dog, that's what you call strength?" Chase tried to puff out his chest. "Look, we didn't." Jack cut him off. "Strength isn't measured by how hard you can hit," he said. "It's measured by what you choose to protect. And right now, you're choosing cruelty." The boys shifted uncomfortably. Chase's 2 friends gulped, their faces paling as Jack's words hit hard. Chase tried to shrug. "It's not a big deal," he muttered. "It was just a joke." Jack stepped even closer. A joke stops being a joke the moment someone gets hurt. For a long moment, silence hung heavy in the air. The boys exchanged uncertain glances. But Jack wasn't finished. "You're going to apologize," he said. To him, and to the dog. Chase's face burned with humiliation. "What if we don't?" Jack didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He simply looked at him. A look that conveyed decades of discipline, pain, courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering moral line. A look that told Chase, without a single word, that there were battles he could win and battles he would never dare to fight. "We're sorry," Chase whispered finally, barely audible. Louder, Jack said, not unkindly but firmly. We're sorry, Chase repeated, this time with shaky sincerity. The apology didn't undo the harm, but it mattered. Ethan nodded silently, still shaken. Good, Jack said. Now go home, and think about the kind of men you want to become. The boys didn't need to be told twice. They scattered like frightened birds, disappearing down the street. Jack turned back to Ethan, kneeling gently. You okay, son? Ethan wiped his cheeks. I'm fine. But honey, Jack examined the dog again and nodded. She's bruised, but she'll be all right. I'll drive you both home and get her checked at the vet I know. Good people there. Ethan swallowed hard. Thank you for helping us. Jack smiled softly. You don't need to thank me. You deserved someone to stand up for you today. That's all. But Ethan knew it was more than someone. It was a hero. A real one. That evening, after the vet confirmed Honey would fully recover, Jack drove Ethan home. The house was small, modest, and warm, with handmade decorations lining the porch. Ethan's mother, Mrs. Parker, rushed out the moment she saw the car. What happened? Ethan, honey, she cried. Ethan hesitated, ashamed to repeat what had happened. Jack stepped in gently. There were some boys at school who behaved badly. Your son and his dog were hurt, but they're safe now. Mrs. Parker's eyes filled with tears. Thank you so much. Jack shook his head. I just stepped in. Your boy here, he's strong. Stronger than he knows. Ethan looked down at his lap, unsure how to respond, but Jack rested a warm hand on his shoulder. Strength comes in many forms, Jack continued. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Mrs. Parker invited Jack inside for dinner, simple chicken soup and homemade bread. Jack tried to decline politely, but one look at Ethan's hopeful face convinced him otherwise. That night, something remarkable happened. Ethan talked. Not just small talk, real talk. For months, he had stayed quiet, sinking deeper into himself after his accident, after the wheelchair, after losing the sense of who he once was. But with Jack there, a man who had seen darkness, loss, and pain far beyond what Ethan could imagine, he found himself opening up. He talked about the car crash that took his mobility. He talked about feeling invisible at school. He talked about how Honey was the only friend who never treated him differently. He talked about fear, about shame, about wanting to be strong again. Jack listened, and when Ethan finished, Jack spoke with a calm conviction that filled the room like warm light. Do you know what makes a SEAL? Jack asked. It's not muscles. It's not bravery. It's not even skill. It's heart. It's the refusal to quit. Every day, you wake up and choose to keep going. Son, that makes you stronger than most grown men I've met. Ethan blinked, stunned. You may not walk, Jack continued, but you stand taller than those boys ever could. The words sank deep, planting something in Ethan's heart, something powerful and unfamiliar. Hope. Over the next several weeks, Jack visited often. Ethan's mother insisted it was no trouble, and Jack insisted he was happy to help. He taught Ethan small exercises to build upper body strength, new techniques to maneuver his wheelchair, breathing methods to manage anxiety, and even ways to train Honey with simple tasks. But more importantly, he taught Ethan how to see himself again. Confidence returned in small ways. Ethan started going outside more. He started talking to classmates. He even started helping train other dogs at the local shelter with Jack's guidance. The transformation was slow but steady, like the sunrise creeping across a quiet horizon. One afternoon, after finishing exercises in the park, Ethan asked quietly, "Why do you help me? I mean, you don't even know me." Jack looked out at the trees, his expression softening. "I had a son once," he said quietly. "He would have been your age now. He passed away years ago." Ethan's breath caught. Jack continued, voice steady but heavy. "I couldn't save him, but maybe helping you helps me feel like I'm doing right by him. Like a small part of him lives on in the good I can still do." Ethan's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Jack smiled gently. "It's okay. Life gives pain, son. But it also gives purpose." Months passed. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Ridgewood Middle announced a special assembly about bullying, kindness, and responsibility. Students sat in rows, restless and half-interested, until the guest speaker walked on stage. It was Chase Morgan. He stood stiffly behind the podium, cheeks flushed, eyes flicking nervously around the room. Ethan watched, stunned. Chase cleared his throat. "I want to talk about something I did," he began. "Something I'm not proud of." Whispers rippled through the auditorium. Chase continued, voice cracking. "I bullied someone who never deserved it. I hurt him, and I hurt his dog. And I was wrong." Students gasped. He looked toward Ethan in the audience, eyes full of guilt, fear, and something else. Something like remorse. "I'm sorry, Ethan," Chase said. "I've started volunteering at the animal shelter. I'm trying to be better." Ethan felt the room shift, heart softening, walls lowering. It was more than an apology. It was accountability, growth, humanity. And Ethan knew exactly where that change came from. "Jack." When the assembly ended, Chase approached him slowly. "Your Navy SEAL friend. He scared the life out of me," he admitted. "But he also told me something I can't forget. He said the only way to undo harm is to replace it with good." Ethan nodded silently. Chase swallowed. "Can we, maybe, start over?" Ethan hesitated, then offered his hand. "Yeah," he said softly. "We can." Chase smiled, genuine, humble, and shook it. That handshake became a beginning, not an end. A year later, Ridgewood had changed. Students were kinder. The school launched a program pairing students with disabilities with peer buddies. Honey became the unofficial mascot of courage. And Ethan, once invisible, afraid, unsure, became a quiet symbol of strength. Not because of what he couldn't do, but because of what he could. Because of the heart Jack had helped him rediscover. On Ethan's 14th birthday, Jack joined them at the park. Honey ran around the grass. Ethan rolled beside her, laughing with a sound that felt clean, healed. "Jack," Ethan said suddenly, looking up at him. "You changed my life." Jack shook his head. "No, son, you changed your own life. I just gave you a push. But what you did that day, stepping in, it meant everything." Jack placed a strong, steady hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Kindness is a chain reaction," he said gently. "You pass it on, and one day, someone else will pass it on because of you." Ethan smiled, truly smiled, and in that moment, the world looked different from a wheelchair. Not smaller, not lonelier, not unfair, different, because it was filled with people who cared. Different, because one act of courage had sparked a transformation. Different, because kindness, when offered freely, could heal wounds no medicine could reach. Different, because of a Navy SEAL who stepped in.